Greetings, this is Heart of the Moon. Here's a recap and clarification on some past sound and video bites, and how a provocative mission described in the book of Revelation changed to a gentle nudge or reminder. I was around religious energy ever since I could remember. In the early 70s, my parents took the family to a church called St. Mark's. It's Anglican in a well-known neighborhood called Parkdale in Toronto, Canada. The main intersection is Dufferin and Queen. It's been years since I was there. I wonder what it's like now. I had my first spiritual experience in that church. It was like a page of swords type of moment. It was outside of familiar territory and outside of my comfort zone. It just seemed like an experience until I thought about it just recently. I was barely 4 years old. It was in the back of the church. I saw a manger and crucifix scene. I remember feeling strange. I felt uncomfortable that people were so fascinated with these scenes. Because even though I couldn't comprehend it, I felt their religious fervor for these objects. It was unusual, not in a religious sort of way. For me, these objects had a mystical aura about them. It was an experience I'll never forget, but an experience that was filtered through my own awareness. It was spiritual. After that, I just went with the flow, like I tiptoed through the halls of this energy. That's the setup, ladies and gentlemen. My father eventually became an ordained minister for the Anglican Church, so I was around the energy of Christianity for many years of my life. Then, around the age of 11, I started to read the Bible. The passages stirred my imagination, and some were inspiring, but some seemed out of place, like contrary to the pathway the Lord believed in, such as with the book of Revelation. As a child, I was fascinated with the spirit of the sacred pair. That's what I called them, because they just seemed out of this world, like Moses and Aaron in ancient Egypt. But at the same time, I felt their energy was out of place, because it left a toxic taste in my mouth. I felt it contrary to other ideas in the Bible. My original thought was the sacred pair emerge, sent on a mission to an unrepentant earth as reminders of God's power. I guess to try and save souls, and outside sources confirm my own thoughts. But then years later, I thought their methods described in Revelation are the extreme of it's my way or the highway. And that reminded me of a scene in the movie Reservoir Dogs where the boss and his associates had a meeting. I guess one of the members didn't like a decision of the boss, so he spoke up. But then the boss didn't like it, so he says to the associate, "My way or the highway? What's it gonna be, Mr. Pink?" The sacred pairs method is basically the same way, which includes very toxic energy. So I thought I might as well be a reservoir dog, if that's going to be their approach. But then, after my father came back from a big meeting in Toronto, he told me him and his colleagues believed the book of Revelation to be just that, a book of revelation, or a window into a possible timeline. In other words, a book of possibility rather than a book of prophecy. I didn't understand what he said, but like before, I soaked it up, went with the flow. But what he said never left me, and challenged my view of reality for a long time. When I got older, I read about the quantum world, like Schrodinger's equation. First though, in classical mechanics, or simply in our everyday world, it's possible to find the position of a roller coaster accurately if we know its speed between points A and B. However, in the quantum world, we can only know a roller coaster's wave function, which is basically the probability of finding it between points A and B. In short, the implications of that is all quantum mechanics has to offer are possible results. That essentially stunned everyone. It brought people out of their comfort zones though, and introduced us to a new library of knowledge. And for me, a different way of looking at a situation. A page of swords moment for humanity, as it were, where 1 through 9 through the tarot is mastering a library. And then one step out, the page of air is discovering a new one. So I remember what my father had told me. Maybe they were onto something. Come to think of it, I wish I had the minutes of their discussions. Another verse that was always very close to my awareness is from Matthew 24, verse 42, which is an invitation to watch. Skipping some histories though, roll a soundbite from January 2020. In 2011, I started to wake up to the world. I started to notice the signs of the times. I started to pay attention to politics and world events. I was bothered a lot by what I saw. The news reports, television, and music had changed. I kept watch for any major events, that sort of thing. The entire passage of Matthew, pay attention to the signs of the times, like how the leaves turn in autumn tells us a cycle is about to end and a new one begins. So a sign could be something like thought being turned on its side, like maybe apostasy. Abandoning belief systems would indicate something was about to change. That could have been a sign.